Hi guys, this is Heena the fashion doctor, and oh boy, has it been a while. It's been such a long while that my hair has grown another couple centimeters. But anyways, welcome back to my channel, and I'm so glad you are here on my journey towards a fashionable life. I'm going to try something a little new for this channel. Usually I do a lot of lighthearted little videos, and there's nothing wrong with that because, hey, pursuing joy is a wise thing as well. But I wanted to do a topic on the future of fashion. Now, I'm sure some of you are like, Heena, how about the future of the world? At this point, that's the real question. And you'd be right to ask that, but I don't have enough poli-sci background to tell you, nor am I a psychic, so let's continue with fashion. I want to talk about the future of fashion, not just as consumers, but also for the people working in it. To give you a little perspective, what got me into this topic was a conversation that I had with my computer-aided fashion design professor. And I'll get more into that a little bit later, but let's start with the first question. What is the future of fashion for us consumers? If you've clicked on this video, then chances are you've already heard or actually seen the effects of fast fashion and consumerism. So I'm not going to go into a lot of depth into this because a lot of YouTubers and documentaries have done a fantastic job. I will link whatever interesting videos that I've seen down below so you can check it out yourself. Just to give you a recap, this is more of a global crisis than a lot of people you might meet every day believe it to be. To back my claim, I have a couple statistics. By 2030, there is a projected rise in apparel consumption by 63%. We are consuming 62 million tons anyways, and it's projected to rise to 102 million tons. Our glutton for apparel consumption has become so much that the fashion industry is the 7th largest economy globally. Let that sink in.
Hello? What?
What happens to the economy when we run out of the resources to make these clothes? And what happens to the economy when we don't have space to store or discard these clothes properly? The 2,000 active landfills in the United States are already reaching capacity. My prediction? The next endangered resource is going to be space. Of course, it's not just clothes that are part of this problem. It's all the packaging that we buy our groceries in. It's that straw that we use along with that Starbucks coffee we got in that plastic cup that we did not recycle. And I have to say that even though I'm pointing out all these examples, please understand that I know that this is a systemic issue. Why aren't corporations making changes so that individuals have easier and more affordable access to sustainable options? Why do individuals like you and me bear the brunt of the responsibility to make this change possible? I know it starts with the individual. Any change does. But at some point, someone on top is gonna have to go, hey, this is a losing game. We have to change things. And now, unfortunately, I, as an individual, cannot stop the fashion industry from consuming 98 million tons of non-renewable resources. Y'all know we don't have a planet B, right?
No planet B, no planet blah. Blah, blah, blah.
I also cannot stop the fashion industry from being the 2nd largest consumer of the world's water supply. Guys, California is going through a drought. One of the worst droughts in years. Do they want to share the water maybe? I guess my question boils down to this. At what point is the inaction of corporate going to start affecting the individual? Okay, that was a large recap. Sorry about that. Don't even get me started on the human rights aspect of this though. Now, full disclosure, I am sort of getting into fashion as I get older. It's more of a labor of love than me being dependent on it for my finances. So my point of view may be slightly different and less urgent than those of students who are currently undergrads or even grads in fashion design. However, because I have experience in going to college and having a career afterwards, I can safely say this: learning a trade is not always the same as going to school for it. I think there's a general feeling regarding a lot of education where students go to elementary, middle, high school, followed by college. Finally, they decide on something to do for the rest of their lives, whether it's becoming a lawyer, going to art school, whatever it is. For that amount of investment of time and money and resources, you would think that that education would be sufficient in preparing you for the trade you want to be in. I mean, it is true that, you learn during the job. But if that's true, then why does it take so long just to get that job? And when you finally do get that job, it's almost as if the things you learned in school don't matter as much. You're essentially taught these outdated skills that are years behind the current technology that is used in that trade, and that does apply to fashion. This brings me to the conversation I had with my computer-aided fashion design professor. And mind you, I loved that class. The professor was incredible. I learned so much. I asked my professor how during the pandemic, some of these fashion companies were releasing fashion shows, but with 3D models. So it turns out these companies have been using very complex software, more complex than Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, what have you, and they've been using it for years. So my first thought was, one, why is computer-aided fashion design an elective course when it's kind of the mainstay of how things are operated in the fashion design industry? And two, why am I not being taught this? I guess the defense to that is that really the course that I'm taking is an introduction. Think of it as a bachelor's versus the master's I would be getting at a more specialized institute. That's fine. That's a fair argument. But it still kind of gives me that feeling of, oh, education. It's not giving me back as much as I am putting in. The most interesting part of the conversation were the sneakers that sold under 5 minutes for millions of dollars. And they weren't real. They were virtual. They were for use in the metaverse. A what? Can I get what? And get this, they were made by a gamer, not a fashion designer, a gamer. Which brings me to the question, where are we headed? Guys, this is so surreal. I am so used to fashion being tangible. It's a garment that I own, that I physically own, that brings me pleasure. I guess it's a good thing because there's no waste. It's just mind-boggling to me that people can spend so much on something that doesn't exist in our tangible reality. I don't know about this. You guys let me know down below. And it's actually 2 weeks since the last time I recorded. You can probably tell from the 1 more centimeter that my hair grew. But again, dress the same for continuity reasons. And by the way, couture houses are catching up to this virtual fashion trend. Ralph Lauren collaborated with game developers in order to launch a collection. The last thing I want to talk about is employment in the fashion industry. Now, this is one of those industries where you don't necessarily need education in fashion in order to work in the world of fashion. There are so many jobs in this industry, and more recently, fashion influencing has been a job, modeling, merchandising, wholesale, retail, design, everything you can think of. Let's say you live in the United States of America and you're attending the Fashion Institute of Technology in order to become a fabric and apparel pattern maker using computer-assisted design software. Your job is to determine the layout of the clothes, and your median wage is around $49K, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, you're likely to be living in a big city since this is a fashion-related job, and that wage is not a lot. About half of that is going to go into your rent. Do you have student debt?
Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Let's say you step it up a notch in terms of wage and decide to become a full-on designer. Now, these people make anywhere from 40 to 80K, with the mean being around 75K. Even then, we have to talk about the fact that there is limited employment growth in this sector. Each year, there are 2,500 job openings for fashion designers in this country. FIT alone has over 7,000 undergrad students enrolled as of fall 2020. What I'm trying to tell you is that America is producing more fashion design graduates than there are jobs available for these individuals. And what happens when there is more supply than demand? The price you're going to be paid to do your job is going to be less. And that's proven by the fact that a lot of these graduates have to take up unpaid internships. And why wouldn't you take it? You need the experience to excel in your career and climb the ladder. Meanwhile, the gamer who has not a clue about fashion is making millions off of Unreal shoes. So I guess the moral of the story is become a gamer? No. I don't want any of you coming back to me and being like, hey, you know, Heena said that you're probably gonna be unemployed if you work in fashion, and therefore I didn't pursue what I wanted to. No, absolutely follow your heart, but also listen to your intuition. The purpose of this video is to highlight some of the things that are very obvious to me right now in fashion, but if I had been one of those undergrad kids excited about this new world I was gonna do my job in, I would have been caught unaware by a lot of these little details. It's just becoming more clear to me that we are living in a world where our educational and economic systems don't match the direction that we're headed in. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple solutions. There are the obvious ones: consume sustainably, consume mindfully. There's one that I didn't think of, but when I attended this sustainability fashion webinar, one of the professors gave the incredible idea of finding a better bank. So I would suggest you go to bankforgood.org. And by the way, this is not sponsored. It's something that was advised to me and I'm looking into it myself. Now, normally when you put money in a bank, they don't just leave it in there. They take your money and they invest it elsewhere. Where they invest it, it's not really disclosed, and it may not even be morally aligned with your values. So this is a way of deciding where to put your money. You can decide whether you want to invest in credit unions, B Corp certified businesses, maybe it's a Black or Latin owned bank. Or maybe you just want your money to go to community-led institutions that invest back into the community you live in. So that's my tip of the day. Who knew? Bank finding advice from the fashion doctor. But seriously, if you guys have utilized one of these B Corp certified banks or these community-led institutions, let us know in the comments below. So again, this is not my usual content. I'm not exactly a researcher. I'm more of an observer. But this is a mammoth of a topic, and I thought I could give you my point of view and also maybe shed some light on things that you haven't necessarily heard of or were aware of. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again whenever I upload the next video. Have a great day wherever you are. Bye. There are actual statistics to back what I just said. For me, this applies to, why is my hand in the shot? It's like they know when I'm filming, and they send the helicopter. Where are my scissors to defend me?